Okay! What's going on, guys? Welcome to a new segment of the OddKast called Take 5. This is where I, Kris, take 5 things of a certain topic and list them out. And today's topic? 5 Spider-Man villains I want to see in the MCU. Let's begin. There's 2 sides to every story, and right now when it comes to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the heroes are in the limelight. But of course, for every superhero movie, a really good villain needs to be present for them to fight. In recent films, the villains have been getting better and better. Villains like Vulture, Killmonger, and Thanos, ooh, especially Thanos, are setting the bar for how villains should be in the MCU. Heroes like Black Panther, Captain Marvel, and Spider-Man are going to be carrying the MCU after Avengers 4. Now this begs the question, who could they possibly bring in for the villains for future movies? Here's 5 villains that I think would work nicely for the Spider-Man side of things. Number 5, Mysterio. No, not that Mysterio. As much as I'd love to see Rey Mysterio 619 or Peter Parker, I'm not talking about him. I'm talking about Quentin Beck, otherwise known as Mysterio, a master of illusions. He's in my opinion one of the classic Spider-Man villains and a villain that has gone under the radar for years. Now throughout the Tobey Maguire series, the Andrew Garfield series, and Tom Holland with Homecoming, not one of them ever had Mysterio as a main villain. He came close actually when the scripts were being written for the cancelled Spider-Man 4, where Tobey Maguire Spider-Man would be fighting a Bruce Campbell Mysterio. Now his origin story goes like this. Quentin Beck began as a movie stuntman in Hollywood. He became one of the best special effects designers in the whole movie industry. But as with most backstage roles, he didn't get a lot of attention. But Beck wanted that spotlight, and he decided the quickest way to do so was to battle a hero. That being Spider-Man. I think the fact that Mysterio himself not having any actual superpowers would be pretty interesting. It seems they're keeping Tom Holland Spider-Man this friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, not fighting on a global scale, kinda like how Thor is, or how the Guardians of the Galaxy usually fight for the whole universe. Our Spider-Man kinda just fights for New York, which is okay. Having the inexperienced Peter Parker take on a villain like Mysterio that is all tricks and smoke and mirrors would make a great way for our teenage hero to learn more about his powers. I could totally see the movie be about Spider-Man honing in on his spider sense, so he could figure out fiction from reality amongst Mysterio's illusions. Plus, I'd love to see how the MCU would design a fishbowl uniform. And come to think of it, who could they possibly cast for someone like Mysterio? But that's not my specialty. Kyle's better at casting people. Maybe I should call him up. Number 4, Chameleon. I'm gonna try to pronounce his name. Dmitry Smerdyakov. Dmitry Smerdyakov. Russian. Now, Chameleon is another villain that isn't incredibly overpowered and also not that well known to the mainstream. Now, in my head, if the MCU were to do the movie plot I just said when I talked about Mysterio, I think having Chameleon as a second villain in that mix would be equally as entertaining. Now, if you didn't get it by his villain name, his skill set is that he can impersonate others really well. He didn't have superpowers at first in the comics, but later he became able to actually shapeshift, so yeah, a shapeshifter hasn't been shown yet in the MCU, well, besides Loki. But I think a movie plot about not trusting everybody and being tricked by false realities with Mysterio and Chameleon would be a great way to play with Peter's head. Plus, with the MCU's comedic genius, I bet you that the Chameleon would be a cameo factory with him turning into other heroes, or maybe the cameo king himself, Stan Lee. I think that'd be pretty funny. Number 3, Dr. Octopus. But Kris, he was in Spider-Man 2, widely regarded as the best Spider-Man. Yeah, I know. That's just the thing though. I feel like the Spider-Man franchise with all of the iconic villains need to have one of them come back. And that one being Dr. Octopus. Well, besides, spoiler for later. I think the MCU would have a field day trying to find an appropriate actor for Dr. Octopus. So imagine this, I don't know, like Spider-Man Homecoming 3, graduation day. Tom Holland, Peter Parker, is out of high school now and is in college or something. Otto Octavius could be one of the professors at the university, and then, he gets his tentacle arm thingies. But I think Marvel Studios could figure a way to not make it so similar. Plus, having a movie being about post-graduation could be a great way to put focus on Peter's classmates that he has. Where's Ned gonna go, and who the hell is Zendaya's character really? White Tiger. Is it really? Number 2, Hydro Man. If you watch the old Spider-Man animated series, maybe you'll actually remember a Hydro Man, because this is where I'm basing this entry off of. In the animated series, Hydro Man was this dude who used to date Mary Jane. He was quite the asshole. He was a generic jock, but he had a purpose of trying to win Mary Jane back, and was constantly battling the webhead to do so. Now, his origin goes like this. Morris Bench was just a normal dude until Spider-Man, in his spider antics, knocked him into some experimental water generator which gave Mr. Bench the power to get wet. That's his origin story in a nutshell. Let me give you a rundown of what Hydro Man can do. First off, he's immortal. His cells are now water molecules, so he can't really die normally, or pretty much at all. He has hydrokinesis, which means he can shoot water out of his hands or any part of his body, which is kind of creepy if you think about it. Again, going off the young, naive Spider-Man character that Tom Holland Spider-Man is, this would be a great way to teach Peter Parker that his actions have consequences. Now imagine a movie where Peter has to fight a villain that he pretty much created. Sounds cool, right? Number 1, going off of what I just said, Venom. Yes, I know, Venom has his own movie coming out very soon. Or maybe it is out, depending on when you're watching this. But this is a list of villains that I want to see in the MCU, not necessarily a list of villains that Marvel could use at this very moment. That being said, I want to see Venom in the MCU. I think you'd be crazy if you didn't want to. He is arguably, in my opinion, Spider-Man's greatest rival and foe. Now, of course, there are the Green Goblins, the Dr. Octopuses, and the man made out of bees. He's real, just Google it. But none other are more influential than Venom. I don't even have to go over his origin story, you should know how this works. Black Goo fell from space, attached himself to Peter, made him dance all funny, they got separated, attached himself to Brock Lesnar, Eddie Brock, and then became Venom. Now, Spider-Man 3 gets a lot of mixed reviews, but it was actually the first comic movie that I ever saw in theaters. And to me, as a kid, Venom was terrifying. And I want to see the kids of today be absolutely scared to death of Venom 2. He's pretty much an evil, demonic Spider-Man. He's arguably more stronger, he's definitely more menacing, and he makes those screechy sounds that'll stain your memory. There's even an argument about having Carnage in the MCU too, since Carnage was born out of Venom, and even more murder-minded than Venom. I could see that happening too. But either way, I think Venom would be epic to see one more time. Maybe for a longer time too, because, Spider-Man 3 only had him in the last fight, so yeah, they really should have gave him more airtime. Plus, it was that dude from the 70s shows. Why did they cast him? Thanks for joining me for the first episode of Take 5. I kinda like putting this list together. Now, comment below if you have any topics that you want to hear my opinions on, like my opinion matters. Alright, see you soon. Okay? Okay.